We have 13 new secret rares coming in Attack on Titan Battle for Humanity. Let's rank them. I'm going to do this tier list similar to how I did for the characters, except with fewer tiers. So at the top, we have strong, middle, good, and then at the bottom, lacking or extremely situational. Think of the top as like repeated 100% smash or falling skies. These are cards that are almost pushing $100 because of how rare they are and how much of staples they are in tournaments. Good is just perfectly fine. And then lacking or extremely situational, think of like Looming Terror level of SR. Like it could work in the right type of deck, but overall, you're not going to see it at a lot of tournaments. All right, jumping straight into it. We have 13 of these, except maybe only, no, we have 14 overall, except one of them's a character, Beast Titan. So I'm not going to talk about Beast Titan here since I already ranked him in my character tier list. We're just going to go over the 13 non-characters. So starting off, we have High Speed Dive, 6 difficulty, 4 mid, 7. Blitz, if this is the only attack in your card pool, your attacks get +2 speed this turn. What I like about this ability is that it's not gated towards like only weapons. We see that this has the weapon keyword, but the Blitz ability works with attacks of all types. So everything is getting +2 speed, including this one. So that 4 speed is a little fake there. It's really 6 mid, 7, +2 speed to everything else. Obviously, that can really stack up, especially if you're playing into this air symbol plan of constantly clearing your card pool to where you can play just all of the attacks that you possibly draw over the course of the turn. Everything's getting 2 speed. As soon as you play like 4 or 5 more attacks, then this just gave you a crazy level of stats. And then we have this Deadlock Blitz, add an attack with a difficulty of 2 from our discard pile to our hand. Maybe in the right type of deck, that works. That's one of those extremely situational type things where I see this Deadlock Blitz hardly ever being even part of the consideration of why you're playing this card. It's really all in just, hey, everything's getting 2 speed this turn. The problem is that 1, this is 6 difficulty, and 2, you really don't want to play 2 of these in your turn because it's a 6 diff, right? You play it on a 6, and then you play it on a 7. Oh, and it says if it's the only attack in your card pool. So you'd have to find a way to clear your first one. Yeah, you almost never want to see this in 2s and 3s, just really 1. And then you really only want to see it when the situation is right. You don't want to see this necessarily on turn 2 when you're only wanting to throw out 1 or 2 attacks. You really want to see this like turn 4, turn 5. You've really sculpted this massive attack hand, and you're really going to be going in. You have a solid foundation base to be able to support going in. You know, you don't want to send this out on a poke turn because the Blitz ability is all based around how many more attacks are you going to be playing. That said, I do think that that's a really good ability, and I really like that it's not gated towards a keyword. So I'm going to put this in the good tier, just a slight edge over the situational tier. Very, very slight, but I'm going to give it benefit of the doubt, put it in the good tier. Next up, we have another air symbol secret rare. I think every symbol got 2, infinity symbol 1, and then we got the character. Whirling Slash, 4 difficulty, 3 high 5. Commit up to, bear with me, this is a lot of text on this card. Commit up to 3 foundations. This attack and your next attack get 1 speed for each foundation committed this way. So if we commit 3, we're now a 6 high 5. That's 11 stats on the 4 diff, pretty solid. And we're donating 3 speed to our next one. I like that. If you committed at least 1 foundation this way, draw 1 card. Okay, so we're also drawing. If you committed 3 foundations this way, your next air attack this turn gets -3 difficulty. Meaning that even though we committed 3, it doesn't feel like we had to commit 3 foundations, right? If we just commit 3 face downs, we didn't lose any abilities on those. And then we were going to commit them to pass our next check anyway. So really, it just donates that 3 speed. Again, I think this is pretty good. We're gated towards air attacks, but that's not a big deal. I think it's fine, but again, you don't want to see more than 1 copy of this, and then you only want to see it later on in the game. It's very, very similar to the last air SR, where I want to see this on like turn 4, and then I only want to see 1 of it, not 2 or 3 of it. So because they're so similar, I'm just going to put them right next to each other. High Speed Dive and Whirling Slash. You know, you want to see 1 copy on turn 4. You never want to see doubles. Okay, moving into Chaos. Fortitude of the Armored Titan. This is an action. Remove this card when it leaves your card pool. Okay, that's when you know an effect is going to be very good. Enhance. This attack loses all keywords. Attacks your rival plays this turn. Get +1 difficulty. Okay, so if they play like a Armor the Wolf with EX3 Powerful 3, you throw this down, they lose both of those. They get to go first. This isn't enhance. So if they're really counting on that EX and they know you're running this, they could just play the EX first before you're able to play this. I think the biggest reason you're playing this is for that second sentence. Attacks your rival, plays this turn, get +1 difficulty. Basically, permanent breaker 1. The problem is that you're putting your rival on permanent breaker 1, but you're also putting yourself on permanent breaker 1 because you're clogging your card pool. This attack doesn't leave the card pool. And you have to check a 5 on this. So if you're wanting to use the first sentence of the enhance that loses all keywords, if your rival plays that as like their finisher, you know, like an Armor of the Wolf, they play that as like their third attack, and you've already blocked a couple times, you're now having to check this on a 7. I've been seeing a lot of hype on this on the Discord, and I'm just not buying into it at all. I think there's so many more other actions on the Chaos symbol that I'd rather play. You know, give me Genkai's Guidance, give me Runaway, give me Dark Tournament Looms. You know, I'd rather run an asset like Cape of No Return over this. This to me is going to go into the lacking or extremely situational. Reminds me of Hold Hostage, where it saw a lot of hype upon first reveal and then just never saw serious play. And I know I just made a deck profile where I called that card super underrated, but that's not the point. The point is a lot of hype here. I don't think it's going to live up to it. Next up, Well-orchestrated attack, a 2-check, 5-diff 2-check, 5/5/4. Your rival mills 1. If the milled card is an attack, draw 3 cards. Otherwise, draw 1 card. So you're always drawing 1, sometimes 3. This attack gets +1 damage for each card in your hand. Let's say you play this as your opener. You're a 6-hander. That means you have 5 cards left in hand, but you draw 1 off of this blitz, which means you'll always be right back up to 6. And that makes this a 5/10. That's 15 stats on a 5-diff, 3 stats per difficulty. Quite good. That would be very good if it checked a 3, but it checks a 2. And so that's going to hold it back just a little bit. If this checked a 3, you know, this would be absolutely insane. It definitely deserves the 2 check. It would be way too consistent if it checked a 3, sometimes drawing you 3 cards and just having such a high damage output. It's one of those kind of weird ones where it's solid stats because of how much damage it gets, but it gets the more damage the earlier it's played in your turn. And that's normally when things are going to be blocked. You typically want your big damage move to be towards the end of your turn after your rival has exhausted their resources. So it's a little funky in design in that way as well. For those reasons, I'm going to put it in the good tier. It's hard for me to say it's anything less than good tier when it's like, you know, 5/8, 5/9, guaranteed draw a card, sometimes draw 3. I just can't put that down a tier, but it's definitely not in the strong category. Next up, Coordinated Strike. 5 mid 1 on a 5-diff. Mill 3. This attack gets +1 damage for each weapon attack in your discard pile. And now we've moved on to the death symbol. So the death symbol is getting a lot of weapon support this set. And we're saying we're getting +1 damage for each weapon attack in your discard pile. It reminds me of that one card in the Challenger decks for Critical Role. I can't remember the name. It's like, Big Frickin' Explosion. How did I forget that name? That's like one of the best card titles in the game right now. Big Freaking Explosion, but that costs you a momentum to use. This is completely free, although you're starting at 1 damage, and therein lies the problem. If you're on turn 2, you just played a 5 difficulty card. That's like a 5 mid 4, 5 mid 5. That's it, right? Like 5 mid 5. We're not even getting like stun 2. We're not getting draw a card. We're not like building anything. It's not doing anything to progress our game forward. This is a pure stats card. That's it. It's nice that it scales with the deadlock. So deadlock stun 4. And then you have to time this card right. Like turn 4, turn 5, when you have a really big discard pile. But then like turn 6, you've cycled. And now your discard, and now this is back to 1 damage. So it's definitely like lacking in that sense. I'm not going to put it in the extremely situational because the blitz is so free. I'm going to put it just in the good tier. We're really filling up this good tier early. All right, Short Work. 3 mid 5, 5-diff 2-check. Okay, that's terrible. We got to have an insane blitz and form ability to pay this off. Blitz. If your rival has more foundations than you, this attack gets plus X speed, X equals the difference. We're seeing this a lot where the death symbol, especially in Attack on Titan with cards like Risky Encounter, they want to blow up their own stage and then get stats because they have less foundations than you. They want on their kill turn for you to have way outbuilt them. And they're going to destroy their stage to make sure that works. And we're seeing characters like this with like Marco and Irwin, where they're blowing up foundations for some sort of statistical benefit. First form, discard pile, sacrifice a foundation, add this card to your hand. Okay. Always having access to this attack and basically getting +1 to your hand size is very good. The downside is that this is a first form, meaning you can't do this twice. You can't get 2 short works from your discard pile to your hand. You probably are blowing up a ready foundation and not a committed foundation. So that feels bad. And then you're adding this to your hand. But again, if your rival has not substantially outbuilt you, then this is a 3 mid 5/5 diff. That sucks. That's like Harden Jab, right? I mean, but we were playing Harden Jab as a 4 diff just because it was basically a 3 diff that also added a foundation to your hand. And then everybody was doing shenanigans where that foundation was actually a face down attack in their stage that they just added to your hand. So this is like the big downside of Harden Jab was it's a 3 mid. And here we have a 3 mid. It's almost wanting you to play this late in the string after you've blown up your foundations to do all sorts of effects. The problem is now we're playing a 5 difficulty attack late in the string. To me personally, give me Risky Encounter over this card every day of the week. I don't care that I'm blowing up 3 foundations. They're all going to be committed ones anyway. Now I'm playing a 3 difficulty attack as my late string thing. And I can do multiple Risky Encounters. It's not just this first form. And Risky Encounter checks a 3. I see no world in which this sees play over Risky Encounter. I'm completely out on this card. I think it's not like situational. I think it's just lacking. We're getting so many good 2 checks in this set. So many good 2 checks. I don't think this is one of them. Colossus Steam Barrier. 0 mid 8, powerful 2, 6 diff. This attack's damage cannot be reduced below printed by rival effects. Okay. But there's nothing giving it speed, and it's 0, and it's not even a throw. So we have a problem with this as an attack. Response. Remove. After you block with this card, the blocked attack deals no damage, and your rival loses 1 health. Okay, an Omni block with a 2 mid block that also burns your rival 1 and can kill them. So this is now going on my bucket list. I want to see on stream at a major event someone die because their rival blocked with a Steam Barrier. That's on my bucket list. Somebody make it happen. That would be awesome. And I will give you a shout out if you do it. I doubt it ever happens though, because I doubt this card ever sees play. Seriously, it's just a defensive card. You are never playing this on offense unless your rival just has like no cards in hand. Or you have a way to just give this crazy speed. I seriously think they just forgot to give this attack the throw keyword. It's purely a defensive card that checks a 3. That feels bad to me. It's taking up slots in your precious attack lineup. It's not doing anything on offense really to push the game plan forward. It has a serious flaw in that 0 mid. I think this was in the lacking tier next to short work. But if somebody wins off of that block, burning their rival for 1, hey, that would be awesome and would go down in Universe's history to me. Okay, Intense Heat Blast, another 2 check. 5 diff, 5 mid 5, stun 0, so you know we're going to be somehow getting that stun up. Blitz, this attack gets +1 to its stun rating for every 2 attacks in your removed pile. So if you're a character, like for example, Bionic Menace is on the fire symbol, I believe. He could remove 3. He's removing 3 every single time, every single attack. Pretty soon he has like 6 attacks in his removed from game pile. Now this is stun 3, 5 mid 5. That's pretty solid. Although we see like Patrick Baby, 5 mid 5 stun 2, EX3, powerful 3. And it can sometimes be like a 6 mid 5. That gets really, really nuts. This one you have to work for a little bit, or you could use a card like, I can't remember the name of it. It's a, come on, it's not Snack Time, but it is that Sugar Rush Power Up. There we go. You remove 10 cards selectively from your discard pile. So you could just remove all of your attacks. That's a very, very good action. It gives like +2/+4. You'd have to do that on the attack before this because this is a blitz ability. So it's going to go off before you get the opportunity to use Sugar Rush Power Up. But that would be a neat one. Sometimes this is going to get to stun 5. The downside to that though, one, you're having to work for it quite a bit. Yes, we're going to have some characters that help it out. But you're having to work. You're having to put in work to make this blitz effect work, which makes it definitely quite situational. It's not just like baseline good in everybody that plays it. The other downside is it really gets crazy when this is like stun 4, stun 5, stun 6. Well, to get to stun 4, stun 5, stun 6, you need 8 to 12 attacks in your remove from game pile. What if you don't kill your rival? You just removed half of your deck's attacks to make your Heat Blast good. What if you don't win on this turn? Then you're just super dead. And then response remove. After this card is discarded during the combat phase, your rival commits 1 foundation. So if you're playing some type of character that's also milling, then this is going to basically be sometimes this like pseudo stun 1, but sometimes this like stun 1 on their turn. So that's a pretty good response overall because of how much work needs to go into it. And then even then, 5 mid 5 stun 5, that's very, very good. There's easier ways to make that happen, right? As like playing Amajiki in St. Louis, I was making that stun 5 happen turn 3 easy. Like 1 Deception Dagger in Momentum was stun 4 with Amajiki. That I wasn't having to work very hard for. So Intense Heat Blast, you are having to put in quite a bit of work. So I'm going to put that in the lacking tier. Okay, Midst of Despair. We need to see a strong SR here right now. Right now we are 8 for 8 going into the bottom 2 tiers. Let's get one in the top tier. Can Midst of Despair make it happen? 4 difficulty, 2 high 6. Blitz, if you've gained health this turn, this attack is 3 speed. Meaning that this would be 5 high 6, 11 stats on a 4 diff. That's very, very good. Gaining health in the turn, that is not a very high bar, especially on the life symbol. That's like the life symbols, I would say its main kind of symbol identity, especially in Attack on Titan. It's just all about gaining health. So that's a very, very low barrier to entry to make this 11 stats. Response, after this attack deals damage, the next card you try to play ignores progressive difficulty. That's crazy. Think about this card in like Overhaul, for example. We play this as like our 4th attack, ignoring progressive because we're Overhaul, and then it deals damage, and now we get to ignore progressive again. And then we're on the life symbol, so let's play that one action that also says your next thing ignores progressive. I just can't remember names without like 20 seconds of thinking about it off the top of my head today, but you guys all know the action. It's like 3 diff. Your next one ignores progressive. So you could combine that with Midst of Despair, with like Overhaul, and you're just ignoring progressive all over the place. This card is demanding a block, and you can use that to your advantage, right? You can force your rival into blocking Midst of Despair so that they no longer have the resources to block your follow-up attack. So even if you're not getting this response off, it can be progressing your game plan forward, because it can trick your rival into blocking this one when they should have saved their resources to block your next one and to just not care about it ignoring progressive difficulty. You know, there's so many times where people get so hung up on like trying to force progressive, and it's like you're at a game state to where you're going to play all the attacks in your hand anyway. And so you really shouldn't be thinking about that, but it absolutely gets in players' heads. So you can force them to block this one, or you can just play this late at a time that your rival's completely committed out. They can't block, and now you get to throw 2 attacks at them. So I think that this is very, very good. It's a low barrier to entry. You probably don't want to play it unless you can consistently get that 3 speed from the blitz effect off. It's probably a little out of place if you're just playing this card for the response. But again, it's going to be pretty easy to get the Blitz. I'm putting this as our first secret rare in the strong tier. We're going to see it a lot. And it's my prediction that this is going to be the most expensive of the secret rares. Because not only is it good, I can see a lot of decks wanting 3 copies of this in their attack lineup. Probably not 4, but a 2 or a 3X will be quite common. So people are going to be wanting multiple copies. Probably going to drive the price of this secret rare up. If any of them are going to be reaching $50, $75, $100, it could be Midst of Despair, which, you know, maybe the high prices will put you in the midst of despair. Next up, Stomp of the Female Titan. 7 difficulty, 3 mid 3 response. Before this attack receives a speed and or damage bonus from another card's effect, double that bonus. You may play this attack, you may play this response up to 3 times during this attack. This is definitely, what do they call those cards? Like Timmy cards? Universes is really my first card game to get into at a major competitive level. So a lot of these like terms from other card games I'm not super familiar with, but I think it's like called a Timmy card. You know, there's those things that they're big, right? We're trying to just absolutely explode them with some sort of massive attack combo. And that's what this card is, because there's no maximum applied to this. It doesn't say like maximum plus 5 stats, right? So if you give this thing, right, we're on the life symbol. Let's just think about Ymir. If Ymir gave this thing plus 10 damage, then that would become plus 20 damage. Now you see why it's a 3 mid 3, because this response can get so crazy. They're kind of forcing you to have to play some very big responses. I think you have to have at least 1 massive stat bonus, 1 medium, and then you can throw in a small one. But if you don't have at least 1 massive bonus and 1 medium bonus, then I think this is too understated to make it happen. It's also kind of funky in the fact that it's 7 difficulty. So you definitely want to be playing this as your string starter and not a string finisher. So Ymir was probably a bad example, because Ymir's building that damage bonus up over the course of the turn. Probably isn't throwing this 7 difficulty move out. Unless you combo it with Midst of Despair. There's a world, you know, where you Midst of Despair and then you follow up with Stomp of the Female Titan. So I guess it could happen, but it's probably going to want to be played as an opener. Just make it a 20-20 somehow with what you're giving it. Ultimately, I think this is a really, really fun card. I want to see somebody win and just absolutely stomp on someone and just make them go splat. But again, it's a situational card. This is like a fun locals card. Like, I want to stomp on somebody at locals. So I'm going to make a deck entirely based around this attack. You almost have to make your deck entirely based around it. And let's just see if we can make it happen. But I don't think it's ever going to be consistent enough to be like major regional tournament meta worthy. Pressing the Advantage. 5 difficulty, 3 low, 5, EX2. Commit 1 rival foundation. This attack gets plus X damage. X equals the number of your rival's committed foundations. If you're not familiar, if you've just gotten into the game this year, then you probably have not heard of 1.3 million volts indiscriminate shock. That was a set 1 My Hero Academia card, but it was basically the order symbol's identity for 3 years. Every order symbol character had indiscriminate shock as its kill condition. And this card is almost a reprint of that one. It's a little better in some aspects. It's a little worse in other aspects. Indiscriminate shock said 3 low, 5. I think it had stun 1, and it said like, you commit a foundation, your rival commits a foundation. So it's like, maybe it didn't have stun 1. I can't remember. But it said this: you get damage equal to the number of your rival's committed foundations. This is much better in the sense that it has EX2. So now this is going to get to like 12, 15 damage, and you can actually apply speed to it, because the big downside here is that it's a 3 low. And this is better in the sense that you get to commit a rival foundation. So you can commit down their damage reset. You can commit down their speed reset, whatever their strongest defensive resource is in their stage. If they only have 1 of it, like a defending pageant queen or something, they only have 1 out, then you can blitz And before we even get into our enhances, I'm going to make sure to commit your defensive piece down. That's very, very powerful. And that's what makes this a 2-check, whereas Indiscriminate Shock was a 3-check. We're getting EX on it. We're getting selective committal. And I think that this card more than pays off the 2-check. At first, I was a little weary, but I think the selective committal is what really puts it over the top. So order characters right now are feasting really well. Walk the Dog is one of the most popular kill conditions right now. And one of my teammates said, Walk the Dog is best when it's not your best attack. It's best when it's like your second or third best attack. And I think that's pretty true. So now we have a low Walk the Dog and a low Pressing the Advantage. Both of them are set up really well, by the way, by Ice Sword Execution. So the order symbol just is getting this crazy, very, very powerful attack package. It's held back a little bit by, in my opinion, Standard Order has one of the best attack packages, but one of the worst foundation packages overall. So it's held back a little bit in that aspect. But yeah, Pressing the Advantage. Hey, Fourth Kind is back on the menu with this card. We're going to stun for you, and then we're going to finish you off with this as our 4th attack with -4 difficulty, but +4 damage. It's going to be this 20 damage move, and now we get EX2 on it. So it's no longer just this 3 low attack. Yeah, this is going to go into the strong tier for me. I think it's the rare 2-check that really pays it off that we're going to see people running. Next up, we got Wall Maria's Might. 5 diff, 5 low 5, 2 low block blitz. Add a wall counter to a card in your stage. Most of the time, that'll probably be your character. Then draw 1 card for every 2 wall counters on that card. Okay, so this is definitely situational in the sense that, I shouldn't say situational, because it's, what would we say, gated to wall counter characters. But those wall counter characters, it's not like they only want to see this in certain situations. This is good like almost all the time in them. Because it adds a wall counter, you only need 1 wall counter for this to just draw you a card. So with only 1 wall counter in your stage before you play this attack, it's a 5 low 5 draw 1. That's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with a 5 low 5 draw 1. I could see, if all this said was that, I could see a lot of characters throwing this in their deck. This gets crazy when it's added to a character like Hans. Hans never spends his wall counters. He increases in damage based on the number of wall counters on his character, but it's just a static. So Hans can get to like 10 counters pretty quickly. And then this is just a 5 low 5 draw 5. That's ban worthy if it was available to the general public. That's why we have to gate this to certain characters. Erwin, Krista, Hans. We have to make this just those 3 characters. It goes really, really crazy. The reason I pointed out Hans was he doesn't spend his counters. Krista and Erwin are spending their counters a little bit. That said, even if you have 3 counters on your character and you play this, it's a 5 low 5 draw 2. That's extremely, extremely good as an opener. And we get this response after you block an attack with this card, draw 1 card. That's not nothing. It's not the reason you're playing the card. But listen, a 5 low 5 draw 2, how can this be anything less than good? I'm not going to put it in the strong tier because it's only gated to 3 characters, whereas Midst of Despair and Pressing the Advantage, these are going to be all over. A lot of My Hero Academia, Yu Yu Hakusho, Cowboy Bebop, Godzilla characters are going to be playing these cards and not just Attack on Titan characters. So because of that, Wall Maria's Might falls into this like weird area where it's not lacking, it's not situational, but it is gated. I guess it's sort of similar to High Speed Dive and Whirling Slash. Okay, next up, last one, Infinity Symbol, 13 diff, Thermal Blast, 7 mid 7. This is very similar to Stomp of the Female Titan, where I said it's just one of those cards. This is not like a meta tournament definer, but it's absolutely a card to take to locals. And let's just see if we can nuke someone's stage. We're going to love it. We're going to love it when it happens. Blitz, your rival flips 5 foundations. If it deals damage, ruin 13. You can play this in a character like Smiling Titan. Give it +9/+9. Now it's this 16/16. If they don't have a reset on stage, you're just going to nuke their board and there's nothing they can do about it. You can play this in like Mothra, for example. Give it 13 speed. Now it's a 20 speed 7. play this in Recovery Girl, make it a throw, and nuke their stage. So it's going to have, it has spots. And I understand why they statted it with only 14 stats. That's barely over 1 stat per difficulty. Again, I like it when we're getting 3 stats per difficulty, but very, very understated, but for good reason. We're forcing them to flip 5. If you don't deal with this attack, I'm nuking your stage. I still think it's just a locals card. Way too much setup here for me. It's 13 difficulty, so even if you do board wipe them, you had to commit, like let's say you check a 5 on this, you commit 8 foundations. You see this on turn 2, you just can never play this on turn 2. It is a 4 check, which is something. But yeah, it's definitely just a for fun card. Take it to your locals. So there you have it. These are the 13 secret rares in the set. Overall, I honestly think the secret rare design in the set was very, very solid. There's no cards in here that just don't seem fun. Even our situational SRs. Stomp and Thermal Blast are like the definition of fun cards. Intense Heat Blast, Steam Barrier, Short Work, in the right type of deck, they could work. And again, Steam Barrier, getting that Omni Block, that's not nothing, and it would feel amazing to kill somebody with it. Fortitude of the Armor Titan might be pretty strong if you expect Mikasa everywhere. If you expect a character like Mikasa everywhere, hey, we're going to play this. Your attacks are getting +1 difficulty. I don't care if you're clearing your card pool. You're still going to be playing on some tiny semblance of progressive difficulty. So it could be strong in like a specific matchup like that. So even then, there's still times where I would side that card in. The good tier, these seem like pretty fun cards. And then the strong tier just can be played by tons of different characters. I think this is how secret rare should be designed. Beyond just 2 of these, there's not going to be any secret rares, I think, pushing like $50. So even though there's 13 of them, and that's going to kind of feel bad in the sense that like, if they're still just doing just 1 secret rare per box, then when you buy a case, you'll get like only half the secret rares. That's definitely going to feel bad. And so you don't want them to be super, super expensive on the secondary market. So I like how they designed these. I'm not a fan of 13 secret rares in one set. It's going to be pretty expensive to chase after this set, but if we have to have 13 secret rares, this is how I would want them designed. Is, hey, most of these are just fun cards. Stomp and Thermal Blast, right? You don't absolutely have to have these. There's only 2 in here that are going to be just broadly needed. And then even then, I'm going to be making a top 10 cards in Attack on Titan Battle for Humanity probably next week, and then a top 10 cards, standard cards made stronger because of Battle for Humanity. Cards like Great Buckler. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But normally in my top 10 cards in a set, I would say like 2 to 3 of those cards are secret rares. Secret rares just tend to be pushed. Repeated 100% Smash, Falling Skies. And this set, like even Midst of Despair and Pressing the Advantage, I'm not sure they're top 10 cards. You know, maybe I'd put them at like 11 to 15 or 11 to 20. They're very strong, but even then, I'm not sure they're top 10 tier. Like Midst of Despair, for example. Hey, if I block it, it was just a 5 high 6. That didn't do anything, right? It's not like Battle Aura release where it was a 4 high 8 that drew you a card. This was just a 5 high 6 that did nothing because the response is entirely dependent on it dealing damage. Pressing the Advantage is a 2 check. Putting that attack into your deck is going to kill you sometimes. Sometimes you're just going to have bad luck. You're going to try a 3 difficulty foundation. You're going to check Pressing the Advantage, and you're just going to lose the game because of it. So they're very, very fair, even though they're strong. But all of these seem a lot of fun. And I like what they're doing by giving us like 8 2-check attacks. I think a lot of the 2-checks are very, very powerful. Rallied Assault and Farewell Between Friends, probably my strongest. I put a poll on the Facebook group today, by the way, asking for others people's opinions on the strongest, and it looks like Farewell Between Friends is absolutely killing it. But I'm getting a little long-winded here, guys. These are the 13 secret rares. Is there anything that you disagree with me here? Put it in the comments below. Any of these that I've got ranked too low, ranked too high. What are the ones that you're going to be looking for whatever deck that you're excited about in Attack on Titan? I think we have pre-release here in just a couple days, starting this Friday. What is that? It's going to be August 9th for pre-release. It is upon us. Go have fun at your local game store. I'll see you next time.